Hi, this is Yanis from Noisebud, and today I'm gonna be kind enough to share my secret mastering weapon for the higher paying tiers on Patreon. It's I don't gonna share it for everyone just yet because it's a beta version. It's a mastering EQ called Blind, and it looks like this. Uh, it's an extremely clean EQ, no harmonics, no aliasing, no nothing, just pure EQ. It's inspired by two different mastering equalizers, one being the Maselec MEA2, which is a great sounding, just clean analog equalizer, but also a plugin that is called uh, Analog Magfa EQ by Balance Mastering. The idea behind this plugin is actually just comes from this Analog Magfa EQ. The idea is to have a clean EQ that's really clean. The EQ in itself is really nothing special. It's the curves are very similar to an analog EQ, but they are nothing special in itself. The power with the both Magfa EQ and Blind EQ, let's go back to Blind, is that you are forced to use your ears. So you don't have a graphic feedback on which frequencies you are working with, which actually shift your focus to be more focused on the actual sound, and that is one of the greatest power and some of the magic behind analog equipment. It's that you are more focused on how things actually sound than on graphic feedback from a screen. And it's a bit it's both ways, because the graphic feedback you have from a computer, say Pro Q, the EQ, it's great because you can fast see, okay, there's a resonance, and then you can adjust that. But while mastering, that is actually not that. It's not that great. It's, well, you maybe find the resonance, and you adjust it really quick, but you listen with your eyes. You adjust it and you see that, okay, I brought that peak down and now it's good, but does it really sound good? So when I first used the analog Magfa EQ, uh, this was the thing that caught me immediately, that I started to actually dial in the EQ the way that I used analog equipment without really thinking about it. And that is my whole philosophy behind many of my plugins, that you shouldn't listen with your eyes, you should use your ears. And I was actually about to buy this EQ. It costs about $100. Uh, but because I downloaded the demo a couple of years ago, but at the time I thought that no, I can't invest another $100 when I already own about 30 equalizers. That's just stupid. And if it doesn't bring that much new sonic wise, it's just a waste of money. But then I realized that I like this graphic interface, and I actually I'm doing better EQ work when using this. So then I thought that, yeah, okay, this plugin actually is worth every penny. But then when I was going to the site to buy it, the site didn't work. There's a little link down here. I tried that, and I tried balance mastering site, and I couldn't find it. It was gone. I couldn't buy it. So that's why I created Blind. So it started off as just a copy of this, and that's the EQ that I've been using for about a year. Then I realized that uh, over the time, over this year, I've been adding small stuff here and there. So this EQ just have stereo, the mid or the side. I wanted to be able to just change things in the left and the right channel as well. Let's go back to Blind. So you can do that with Blind. And I also wanted gain compensation. And I wanted it first. I implemented gain compensation for the whole plugin, but then I realized that I actually wanted it per band, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. This is going to be a long video because this is a powerful plugin with a lot to say, and it's not finished yet. So just so you know that it works well, but I still have things that I want to implement. I want to implement that you can work with two different settings, A and a B setting, and I want you to be able to copy from A to B, so you can compare different settings, so I can do changes and jump between them quickly. So that's left. So that's why it's in beta, and the reason why I'm releasing it now is well, for one, it's working so well, so it's time to release it or make it available. But also, I'm about to change my computer. I bought a new computer, so I'm gonna need to transfer all the frameworks and everything to a new computer, and I'm really afraid that something will mess up and I won't be able to compile some of the plugins, older plugins. I probably will eventually, but I thought, well, okay, I'm gonna put some work in and make this as usable so that even if I can't recreate it, I still can use it. So that's why I'm releasing it right now. Okay, shut up, Johannes. Now let's listen to how this sounds. Again, I'm using one of the songs that I got from my friend Jonas. Thank you, Jonas. Please send me more tracks for demos. I need a lot of them. And even you, Patreons, if you have tracks old mixes that you're not going to use, but they're still good, or even bad mixes, uh, please share them. And if you're okay with me using them, because I'm always looking for material to use in these demos. Okay, let's play this song. I'm gonna play it a bit in, and I'm gonna do what I usually do. I'm gonna bypass it. Right now, I've done some settings, and we're gonna go through the interface later on. But right now, I've just done some settings, and so you can hear before and after EQing this track. Okay. Bypass. Activate it again. Bypass. So this is the raw mix with just the EQ. I have a limiter as well so that I don't go over the go over 0, but it's just it's basically just the EQ. So let's reset this to its original settings, and I'm gonna talk about the different settings and how to work with this EQ. First, let's go from the top and down for every band. There are 7 bands. They are all exactly the same. They go from 20 hertz up to 20,000 hertz. So they're exactly the same. On the top, we have a on-off button for every band. And there's a little LED on the top that shows if it's activated. But I realized that that's not enough, because I've been in situations where I deactivated a band and done adjustments after that just realize, no, the band is not active. I was just fooling myself that I can hear a difference. It's a very common thing, and one of the problems with hardware, because it's hard in hardware to really show you that a band is active or not. You often do that with LEDs, and they are not always as obvious. You're not paying attention to LEDs that much as you think you should. So I made it this way that when you deactivated a band, for one, you can't adjust the controls in the band, so they're stuck. While when it's activated, you can control it. Um, so that's one of the functions. That's where you can use the power of digital computers and have a graphical interface. Um, so um, that's better than hardware, really. So that's the on-off button. And then you have gain, and I decided to go with 9 decibels. Not that I ever use 9 decibels while mastering. I often use half a dB to max to maybe 2.5 dBs. In some rare occasion, I maybe boost something a little bit more, but then probably I have a really broad band, so I don't yeah, you don't do that much. It's the combination of several bands with half dBs increments and decrements here and there that ends up to the sum, which does a lot, but it's not the you're doing really small changes. And the gain control is also half dB steps, so it should be easy to find a setting that is good. And if you have tried 2 decibels, then you can try 1.5 and 2 again, so it's easy to jump between them. If you don't have the steps, you never know. It will be hard to set it to exactly 2 and 1.5. So it's common in mastering EQs, as most probably know. Then we have the where you choose the frequency to work with, from 20 hertz up to 20,000 hertz. It could be good to know that the bands, they do suffer a little bit from cramping, not that much. I don't mind it, actually, but they are created in that way that when you get near 20,000 hertz, they do cramp a little bit. So to avoid aliasing, I made the high shelf so that doesn't cramp. So everything I do with the high end, I do with the high shelf. If I want to boost up to 20,000 hertz, and the other bands are for other duties. Maybe I may change that in the future, but I haven't. I don't feel that it's necessary. We'll see what users say when they start to use this. Then we have the Q value. It goes from very broad 0.07 up to 707. So, yep, it's just how broad the band is, and it's very broad to the left and get narrow to the right. Then we have the selection where you choose which channel you should work on. And here's another thing where I'm using visual feedback in a way that is hard in hardware. I'm changing the color a bit behind that band, and it says left up here. This is so that it should be really fast when you have done some complicated settings. All bands will do different things. Then I realized it's quite hard to see what it says down here with the channel selection. So I made that as obvious as possible, and it's easy to see which, okay, all these channels are the left, these are the right. So you can see that the left is green, the right is reddish pink, and the sum or the mid is bluish or purple something, and yeah, and the difference has its own color. And stereo is just white, then it's transparent. Then we have a gain compensation for every band, and I'm gonna show you why it is there later on with play around with it with the song. But I can say that the idea behind it is because I started implementing the gain compensation globally first, but realized that I don't always want it to be global, because if I hear that's like in this track, there's a ride, I think, in the left channel, and I wanted to compensate for that by either lower the ride in the left channel or brighten up the right side. And by doing that, I changed the correlation between the two channels, which made that the whole stereo image jumped a bit to one side. And by having gain compensation for every band, I can compensate for that. So I just compensate, and that's great to keep the center information, keep it in the center, or it can also be great if you want to widen the stereo image a bit. You will realize while you're working with this that uh, it doesn't always react, or it's a react like you think it should, but it doesn't sound the way you think it would all the time. Sometimes when you think it, yeah, of course I need gain compensation, and you turn it on, it actually gives you something completely else than you expect. Uh, so I often play around that, and that's one of the magic things with this EQ, that you can create a stereo image and you get that 3D depth, and yeah, it sounds very rich when you're starting to uh, work with the gain compensation on individual bands. I often have the global gain compensation on constantly, and never turn that off, because I tend to add gain. I'm not that much of attenuating frequencies. I rather add gain, so I get very fooled by loudness when that's not activated. So I activate it. It's also great for, I'm all often going into a compressor after the equalizer, and it's great to keep the gain in control, so that the compressor still continues to do about what it should do, that it's not get a lot of more gain, so it starts to compress more than intended. Yeah, what's more, high shelf and low shelf, those are there's no Q value, they are set. So yeah, they work as low shelf and high shelf, and except that they are exactly like the other bands. They have their, you can choose which channel to put them on, and they have gain compensation as well. Then we have 4 buttons. These are I call it focus listening. It's the same buttons that are in Noisebud Listen, the monitor controller thing. It's really good when you EQing stuff. It's just solo buttons for different channels. So when you hit L, that's the left channel. It will route the left channels to both speakers, so you can concentrate on what's in the left channel. And it's then the right, same thing, and sum and difference, or mid and side. Sum and difference is just another way of saying mid and side. It's more a correct term in this when you use it like this, so that's why it's called sum and difference in this plugin. But it's mid side. And the delta button. Yeah, I'm gonna show you some how you can use the delta button. It's a bit counterintuitive in a EQ, because when you gain something, it sounds the same in the delta as if you attenuate something. So it's not that usable, but it can be interesting to see what the difference between the dry and the wet signals are sometimes. And the bypass, it will just bypass. And like in Bear, I think it was, I'm using my philosophy of copying analog signal paths. so I put the icon for that as well in this plugin. All right, let's start to play around with this a little bit. So I'm gonna set a loop around in this track. Let's start by listening to the ride. This is the right channel. Here you can hear that the ride is lower level, so it's probably panned to the left, which will be obvious if it's like this. I think it's a bit too pan, or let's say that I think that. So we're gonna move that to the right in some way. Let's try by boosting the right channel. So I'm choosing the right channel, and I'm going to exaggerate when I'm looking for the frequency. So that's why I have 9 decibels, even though I'm not going to use 9 decibels when I'm done, but I use that to focus on certain frequencies. I have to move it to where the ride is. Now it's in the left. Now it's more even in both. In this case, if we listen to the delta, we can hear that it's just things happening in the right channel. If we use the gain compensation, now listen, let's see if that has an effect. Very little in this case. Let's do a lot of changes so I can show you how to use the gain compensation for every band a little bit. Let's make let's a little bit more low end. And I gotta drop around 100 hertz channel. I'm going to use the gain compensation for that. I want a broad boost of the frequencies where we are the most sensitive. That much. Back that off a little bit. I want to broaden the stereo image as well, and where the body of the music is, something like this. Okay. And yeah, we always want more high end. Let's bypass to see what I'm done. I'm using my headphones, so I'm not sure if this sounds good or not, because I don't trust my headphones. But let's say that this is good. We listen to the delta, and it sounds like this. If we hit the gain compensation, let's start by deactivate them. As you can hear, stuff happens with the stereo image when we do that, and that's because we're compensating between the channel. If I have boosted a lot, like this band where I'm boosting 4 decibels in the difference channel at 400 hertz, if I gain compensate that, because the the mid will probably have more loudness or perceived loudness in it, so it will compensate for that, and it will attenuate the whole band a little bit, so that will change the stereo correlation. So let's hit gain compensation per band on everything. No, and then it won't do anything. Let's do every other like that, and let's do something like this as well. Well, let's see if we can hear that when we're it's subtle, but can you hear that the stereo image shifts when you do this? And sometimes it's really useful, sometimes you just leave it off. It's depending on what you want to do. Yeah, I don't think I need to say that much more. It's already been almost half an hour of talking. This is for the high tiers, so from Noisebud Black and up, we'll have this right now. I will release it for everyone when it leaves the beta stage. And yeah, download it and have fun with it. It's my go-to equalizer while mastering. I have this for all clean EQing duties, and then I have more colorful EQs for adding grit and depth and feel and warmth and other things. This is for the clean audio work of the mastering process. So I hope you like it, and I'm going to continue working with it, and there's an update coming hopefully soon where you can use several settings, A and B settings, and copy between stuff. Have a good day. Goodbye.